In 2015, Amazon put a listening cylinder on over 100 million kitchen counters. They bet you would shop with your voice. 11 years later, in 100 million homes, almost nobody ever bought a thing through Alexa. Here's the strange part. This wasn't a flop nobody wanted. Amazon sold hundreds of millions of these speakers. People loved them. And yet one estimate says the Alexa division lost more than $10 billion in a single year, 2022 alone. A device in more homes than most cable channels, bleeding money. So the obvious story, bad product, nobody bought it, is wrong. The real reason is stranger, and it's hiding inside how you actually use the thing every morning. Start with the original bet because it was actually clever. Amazon didn't want to sell you a speaker. It wanted to sell you everything else. The dream was one sentence. Alexa, order more paper towels. No app. No screen. No typing. You'd stand in your kitchen, realize you were low on something, say it out loud, and a truck would show up 2 days later. Think about how much friction that removes. Every step between wanting a thing and buying it is a step where you might change your mind. Voice erased all of them. So Amazon did something that only makes sense if you believe that dream. It sold the Echo speakers cheap, reportedly near what they cost to build, sometimes at a loss during sales. That's not how you make money on hardware. That's how you make money on hardware if the hardware is bait. The speaker was a doorway. The plan was that millions of people would walk through it and keep buying groceries, gadgets, and refills by voice for years. Get the device into the home at cost and let the shopping pay you back forever. On paper, it's the razor and blades trick. Give away the razor, sell the blades. Amazon had the blades. The biggest store on earth already loaded on your account, one word away. The whole model rested on a single assumption. That once talking to a computer felt normal, buying by talking would feel normal too. That voice wouldn't just answer questions, it would become a checkout lane. But that assumption had never actually been tested at this scale. And when 100 million people finally got the doorway, they used it for something else entirely. So what did people actually do with it? Set a timer, check the weather, play music, ask for the time, turn off the lights. Notice something about that list. It's all useful and none of it is shopping. The doorway got used constantly, just never to buy anything. Break time equals 0, 6 is /, here's the number that tells the whole story. Reporting on Amazon's internal figures suggested only a small single-digit share of Alexa users, around 2%, ever bought something by voice. And of that tiny group, many never did it a second time. Read that again. In 100 million homes, roughly 2 in 100 people tried voice shopping, and most of them didn't come back. The bait worked. The blades never sold. Why? Think about what buying actually involves. You compare. You look at 2 brands, check the price, read a review, glance at a photo to make sure it's the right size. Now try doing all of that with your eyes closed and your hands wet, while a voice reads you options one at a time. Which paper towels? What size? What price? Are you sure? You just spent 90 seconds to buy something you could tap in 4 seconds on your phone. Voice is fantastic for things with one right answer. A timer is a timer. But shopping is the opposite. Shopping is a wall of choices, and voice can only hand them to you single file. Worse, there's trust. When you can't see what's in the cart, every purchase needs a spoken "Are you sure?" And that confirmation step meant to protect you quietly reminds you that you can't see what you're doing. So people did the rational thing. They kept the timer and dropped the carts, which left Amazon with a very expensive question. Now here's what makes this a real tragedy and not just a dumb bet. The technology worked. Not sort of worked, genuinely, impressively worked. Think about what Alexa pulls off. You're across the room. The dishwasher is running. Music is playing. 2 people are talking. And you say one word. Alexa, and out of that wall of noise, the device picks out its own name and only its name. Then it catches a full sentence spoken from 10 feet away. Engineers call hearing across a room far-field recognition. Getting it to work in a noisy kitchen was a genuinely hard problem. Amazon solved it. At scale, in tens of millions of homes with different accents, different room shapes, kids yelling, TVs blaring. That is a serious feat. And it wasn't cheap to build. Amazon reportedly put thousands of employees on Alexa and its devices, an army of engineers, researchers, and voice specialists. This was one of the biggest bets on a single interface in the company's history. Break time equals 0, 6 is /, so sit with the contrast because it's the heart of the whole story. On one side, a masterpiece of engineering that hundreds of millions of people use every single day that solved a problem the whole industry had chased for years. On the other side, almost no revenue coming back through it. The cost of running Alexa scaled up beautifully. More homes, more requests, more servers, more staff. The money coming out the other end just didn't. Usually those 2 lines move together. Something gets popular, money follows. Here, popularity climbed straight up and revenue stayed flat on the floor. A triumph and a money pit wearing the same shell. So if the tech was this good, why couldn't Amazon just switch on the money? Here's where it gets expensive. To make money on a device, you usually need one of three things: ads on a screen, a store people buy from, or a paid habit, a subscription they can't quit. Alexa had none of them working. Ads? There's no screen. You can't show a banner to a cylinder. Reading ads aloud between your timer and your weather would drive people away in a week. The store? We just saw it, the 2% problem. And the paid habit never formed either. Amazon opened Alexa up so outside developers could build voice add-ons, little programs called skills. Thousands appeared. Almost none made real money, and most people never used more than a couple. So Amazon tried to patch the gap from the side. Upsell you on Prime. Nudge you towards subscriptions. Push music and audiobooks. All reasonable. None of it big enough to cover a division reportedly losing $10 billion in a year. You can't upsell your way out of a hole that size when the core product hands you nothing. And this is the part that stopped being a spreadsheet problem and started costing people their jobs. When Amazon went through its huge round of layoffs in 2022 and into 2023, the largest in its history, the Alexa and Devices group was reportedly among the hardest hit. The team that built the Fairfield Miracle got cut deepest because the Miracle didn't pay rent. Estimates of the total damage over the years run into the tens of billions. One widely shared figure put the cumulative loss around $25 billion. $25 billion chasing a checkout lane that customers refused to use. Which brings us to the one lesson underneath all of it. So here's the whole machine clicked together. Amazon didn't build a bad product. It built a beloved one, and that was the trap. The mistake was believing that getting into every home was the same as getting into every wallet. It isn't. Adoption is not monetization. Getting people to use a thing and getting people to pay through a thing are two completely different achievements. Alexa nailed the first while missing the second entirely. Break time equals 0. 6 is /ubiquity everyone assumed was an asset turned out to be a liability. Because every one of those 100 million homes was a home Amazon had to keep the servers running for, whether it earned a cent or not. That's the master lock finally turning. Alexa proved people will happily use free utility forever. And it proved they will not change how they buy just because a company wants them to. Habits are stubborn. You'll ask a machine for the weather all day. You will not hand it your credit cards. And here's the forward hook, the reason Amazon isn't giving up. The new bet is a generative AI version. Alexa Plus rebuilt on the kind of AI behind chatbots, trying to finally turn that giant installed base into a real business. Same 100 million doorways. A brand new pitch for what walks through them. Whether people who never bought paper towels by voice will suddenly pay for a smarter assistant is the exact question Amazon spent tens of billions learning to ask. So that's the paradox in one line. 100 million homes and almost no buyers. A machine everyone let into the kitchen and almost no one let into their wallet. If you want the next one, we're opening up how those new AI assistants actually decide what to say. The mechanism behind the voice that's supposed to fix all this. Subscribe and it lands in your feed. This video is analysis and history, not financial advice.